Welcome everyone to another video of Vinyl Addict. This is Chili and it's a soundtrack day, and today's soundtrack number 10 of this series, is ongoing series because I love soundtracks, is for Death Wish 2. Now this, I will be referring to Death Wish 1. I was just going to do both of them, but I think it would have been easier just to do Death Wish 2, which is music is done by Jimmy Page, and just kind of referring to the first one, which was done by Herbie Hancock. Now, the first film, which was done in '74, and the soundtrack, but done by Herbie Hancock, was based in New York City. So the time is a little bit on the urban side, and the music is more jazz oriented. And there's a main theme for Death Wish 1. Unlike other films, when you have like a main title theme for a film like Star Wars or Raiders of the Lost Ark or Rocky, the Indiana Jones movies, they will play the same song in the next movie. So that's the only reason I'm referring to this one, Death Wish 1, is that the main title, Death Wish, is done by Herbie Hancock, but it's no longer played in any of the other films. Now that being said, Death Wish 2 soundtrack by Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, some of his music will be brought back in the third film. So let's get into this. Now this is done in '82, and like I said, the film, now the character Paul, well, I guess I just have to give you a brief summary. It's a revenge flick. In the first film, his wife gets killed, and his daughter gets raped, and the daughter survives, and he goes off. The police don't do anything, and he just pretty much goes off on his own and starts killing all of his the people that did this to his family. The police investigator catches on to who he is and relocates him to LA or somewhere else. And then in this story, he moved from the place that he was sent to, which was Boston, and he relocated to Los Angeles. And the daughter is in this film as well. A lot of the same people are. Not all of them, but key players are brought back in the second film, which was cool. Like the police investigator from the first movie, who sent him out of New York because the city was getting, there was a lot of pressure going on in the city, and people were rooting for him and everything as a vigilante, and they didn't want that. They pretty much wanted crime to come back, so it was a very political issue. So now he's over here, and so this is his daughter, who was in the first film, and the same thing happens here, but this time she gets killed, and so he goes off on his own and starts doing what he's gonna do. Now, the opening songs on here, this was in '82. This is a few years after John Bonham died of Led Zeppelin, and so Jimmy Page wasn't really doing anything pretty much, and the director of this film lived next door to Jimmy and asked him if he would come and just do a couple of songs or whatever, and showed him the film, and Jimmy said, just, I'll take it back to my studio, but you leave me alone, I'll do what I want to do with the whole thing. And the guy did, and he said it just obviously worked. Now, this is a Swan Song. This is from the Swan Song label that they had, and this would end in '84, so this is '82. The label would stop in '84, so what we have here is, like, on the first track is Who's to Blame, and it has Chris Farlow on vocals, who's, you know, famous for singing and making a hit out of the Rolling Stones song "Out of Time." He was brought in on Andrew Oldham's, the manager of the Stones back in the day, and he covered like 6 Rolling Stones songs, and that was one of them, "Out of Time," and became a big hit. That's his claim to fame. But he's on here, and then he would later on be in Jimmy Page's other solo album, Outrider. He sings Prison Blues. So if you haven't remembered what that album was, it came out in '88. It was a good album, Prison Blues, and he sang a few other songs on that album. Now there's some songs on here like City Sirens, some really interesting stuff here, because it sounds, he's using like synthesizers that were kind of used during the In Through the Outdoor album, and sounds like that, but he does bring back the bow guitar like on Shadows in the City, and he brings back the theremin. So you're like, holy shit, it's just like, yeah, this is Jimmy Page. And there are songs like Jam Sandwich where it's just like cool riffs, kind of Zeppelin-esque riffs, you know. That song, City Sirens, he has someone else singing, and that had like a, you know, a groove like Zeppelin. Carol's theme, and you know, it was a really cool song. It's a piano thing, because that's the daughter who gets raped again and killed. And Hotel Rats and Photostats. Hotel Rats is, there's a scene where he's hunting down one of the people who killed his daughter in a rat-infested place. So it's really cool when you take someone like Jimmy Page and like Herbie Hancock, and you're used to their kind of catalog, and then they score a film, and you see how creative they are, you know, and the way they think in that sense, you know, because there's things that are kind of like Jimmy Page's, but then there's things that are not, because he's really scoring for the film, and it sounds like, wow, he's just as good as Danny Elfman or even Herbie Hancock, you know. It's just like, this movie has a lot of suspense, and there's a lot, it's sort of just like a suspense kind of thriller, like even for like a horror film, you know, there's these sounds that, you know, that Jimmy is doing that you know, it's like make your heart stop, like for certain scenes, like, you know, and he kind of does that throughout this this album. But then there's still half of it has music with vocals and, you know, just kind of like rock and roll kind of stuff. But I thought it was a good mix, you know, and the album has been long since, you know, of course, out of print, but then at 2011 it was re-released for 1,000 copies. 1,000 vinyls were pressed on the Jimmy Page website, and the first 100, 1 to 101, were signed, and the other 900 weren't, you know, but that was the only time he re-released this album, in 2011. So if you guys ever get a chance to go take a listen to it, it's really, it's cool. I mean, I thought some of this stuff was even better than the stuff he did with The Firm, you know, because then it was sounding more, the Firm was kind of sounding more 80s, where the production was kind of, you know, the heavy reverb on the drums and stuff like that, where this is still early on, and it's still, you know, it is produced by him, and I don't know if the Firm had Jimmy's hands on that, but I mean, the drums here sound like Zeppelin drums, you know, just big kick and everything, and whereas the Firm kind of music didn't. But I think he was at that point just not wanting to do or sound like Zeppelin, or his kind of just his regular self. You know, he just wanted to sound somewhat different and take a different direction. But there's Who's to Blame, The Chase, City Sirens, Jam Sandwich, Carol's Theme, The Release, Hotel Rats and Photostats, Shadow in the City, Jill's Theme, Prelude. There's some classical stuff here. Big Band, and Sax and Violence is cool, and Hypnotizing Ways, Oh Mama. So that's Death Wish 2, original soundtrack by Jimmy Page. Hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the like button, share, and comment below what you think about this. I mean, again, like, they did use some of this stuff again on the third film. So, you know, I guess they were really just kind of framing the character with this music, other than the first one back in '74. So, with Herbie Hancock. So that's what I have. You know, hit the subscribe button if you still haven't yet, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.